just losing it. Like everybody said I was right, and the quote was yours. The rising ships, rising tides. I don't remember what it was, but it was said by you. So, haha to that.
I will concur when there is evidence. Until somebody tags
Listeners,
me,
listeners, do you hear that? We need evidence.
I
Go
will
back.
send a of the publishing persuasion t-shirt if somebody can find evidence of me saying that the freaking tides rise ship.
Rising tides lift all ships, or something like that. You, Melanie, have said this. I
Didn't I
listen,
say we
listen, please.
rise by lifting others? That's
No, you had a ship reference. I guarantee it. I, I promise. And somebody's gonna find it. And what will they receive if
they'll
they find it?
receive. I will personally send, well, not personally, Redbubble. I will Redbubble a of the publishing persuasion merchandise t-shirt to someone if they can find me saying that quote, because I don't believe it exists.
Well, I'm gonna go look and I'm gonna get a t-shirt.
Okay, if you get it, I'll tell you what I'll send you. I had an idea, I forgot to tell you. If you want, I don't know if we can even do this kind of shit. If you want, I'll put your book cover on t-shirts in our merch store.
Oh yes, that needs to happen.
I'll
No,
send
I
you that
totally.
if you find it.
I don't know if you can like make money off that though, but like the
Yeah.
one that Marley did with my face on it, that one is what we that's the one we need.
I okay, if you find it before the listeners, I will send you that t-shirt.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, welcome to the show, everyone. Melanie and I have just gotten right into it, but welcome to the Publishing Persuasion. I am Angela Montoya, author of Sinner's Idol, that comes out on Halloween of 2023. And I am here with the queen herself, the woo, that's a close-up. The queen herself, Melanie Schubert. Melanie, how are you this fine day?
I am exceptional, my friend. And for those who only just heard my magical Dolce high tones, I was in fact putting my bustule region into the camera to show off this glorious The Queen sweater that young Montoya rightly sent to me, the Queen of Australia.
It just, when I saw that sweater, well, because I was looking for something to give you for your birthday, which is coming up. And I thought, okay, I better do it soon before, because getting to Australia, sending things between back and forth takes forever. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it now. And I saw that and I thought, yes, the queen needs her queen shirt to represent the queen, RuPaul. So
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's like a drag queen on the front as well, right? I was like,
yeah.
it was just the, and it's like a tarot card. I was like, it's the pure embodiment of all I try to be.
Yes, it's you. It's 100% you. So yeah, I'm glad you're wearing it. It looks fabulous on you.
Thank you. Yeah, how are you this week, my friend?
Good, good. Just getting ready. I'm getting ready for our official drag race.
Yes.
I'm getting ready to kick your ass and everyone's ass, not just yours this time, Melanie. We're gonna have a gang battle. It's Team America versus Australia, and I think we maybe have some others joining in, but yeah, we're getting ready for draft race.
I'm sorry, we can't call it a gang battle because all I heard was gang bang.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, we're not doing that. We're gonna have Melanie's mind just goes right to the gutter every time.
Wondering where you were going.
I wasn't going there, if that's what you.
Team battle.
Yes.
We're having
Yes.
a team battle. And
Yeah.
yes, I saw you made a lovely Discord where we can all shit talk each other into making these manuscripts our bitches.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Right now, it's all nice in the Discord. Everybody's just getting to know each other.
Mm.
But that can only last so long until draft race begins. So this week we're just doing the skeleton outline, just like getting all of our kinks out of our stories. So yeah, no, this week's been great because, well, for one, it's only Monday. So
valid. But I'm proud
so far,
of us.
so good.
I'm proud of us, to be honest. I don't know if you're proud of us. Wait, hear me out.
Okay.
Because I have a tendency, and I feel like we're the same in this, to just want to have already written the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like to actually stop, and not just one day, to actually take this week and be like, I am going to just play with the skeleton, play with like the bones of the story. I don't think I've ever like, and it's not even that long. You know, my brain's telling me just do it in one day and then start writing. Why would I resist 1 week? See, that's like a, you know, overproductive brain trap. My brain wants to just get going and draft it out immediately. But what have we got to lose by slowing down? And that's why I was like, should we make it 1 week? Because I'd kind of love to see, like, just to play, experiment. What happens if I give myself this week to pause and lay out the bones properly? Because I haven't looked at it in months, you know?
I love that. Slow it down. I think that's great. Like, it's something I think all writers kind of battle with all the time because we just want to get it through it. We just want to write or do whatever we can and fast, fast, fast. But getting the kinks out and slowing it down so that you can understand your story. So then when it is time to write, you're just ready to take off. And I love that. Like, I think with our last draft race, that's where it was for me because I had the outline, like the general outline ready to go.
Yeah.
And so I had the beats. And so I was able to pants my way to there, but it was a lot cleaner and a lot easier to get there because I had that general beat sheet outline. And honestly, with this adult book, I had written like beats. I had like my outline. And then for some weird reason, I forgot all about everything I outlined and wrote an entirely wrong story. And so I wrote like 36,000 words that were all wrong. But granted, I got ideas from it, so it wasn't a waste.
Yeah.
But I was like, wait, I keep hitting these blocks? And it was because I was writing the wrong damn story. So
you know what? That's it right there. You've just hit on why brains like ours must do the skeleton. Because otherwise, all that juicy pantser creativity that we love, that we like, I need that in stories. I'm bored if I can already predict exactly what's going to happen. Pantser is so important to me. But like, without that skeleton to hold it all in place, you kind of reach these, it almost doesn't do the story justice. That's what I'm finding. Now that I've introduced this little bit of plotting into my life, I feel like when I just pants, I do not do the story justice because, you know, you can, and as you're doing it, I often reach a point, I'm like, oh, that's actually not going to work, but I'll come up with something else at that point. But having that kind of guidepost, and then you might have to go a different way, but it still all links together better somehow.
That's it. That's the goods right there. So that's what we're working towards, and we will get there. And shit talk our way through, and it's the only way it works. It seems to be,
apparently. Well, I might share today. I've got that beat sheet that I sent you a while ago. So I was going to share that I wish I knew. I mean, I got it originally from Adeline when she did that reader report for me years and years ago. But I don't actually know the author who did it. So I'll just say tag us if you know who the author is, whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
That, and I was going to do the kind of like those main, like, who is your main character? What do they want? Hang on, I'll just read it. I've got a post ready. But I think like it's kind of story bones that like I find that I always need to reflect on again, because even now I'm like, do I have all of those things? You know, who is your
Right.
MC? What do they want? Who or what is stopping them? What happens if they don't get what they want? Like these are the stakes of your story. This is what people like, what grabs the reader by the hand and drags them through. And ultimately, that's why I wound up forcing some plotting into my life, because I would watch or read stuff and I would be like, what is it about this that makes me unable to put it down?
Mm.
And it's always like, it's always character, like the character's arc, the character's desire, you know? And so, yeah, I want to try, I'm holding myself to the very high bar of using K-drama as my guiding star for like character arcs.
As you should, as you
Yeah.
absolutely should, because K-drama, they just get it right. Well, and it's so true what you're saying about like you can have all these crazy stakes, but if you're not invested in the characters themselves and in their own personal arcs, you're not going to care. And it could even be like the smallest things, right? Like the K-dramas that are quieter, the books that are quieter, and the stakes aren't even that high. It's like, will I want to find love. You know,
Yeah.
that's not an end of the world stake, but the reader wants to take this journey with the character because they are in their brain. They understand what they're like kind of pushing up against, what they're fighting through, and so you're invested. And so yeah, like finding the own personal stakes and their like reasons for doing things is so key. And like I always feel like that with books, if you're not kind of in the head of the character,
Mm.
you it's just like it, you know, you're just kind of reading through these things and not really like digging in and like, oh, I gotta know what happens to them next because I really care for them or I really hate them or I want to see them suffer, whatever it is, you know.
Mm. Yeah. And you're so right. It can be the smallest thing, like the K drama I just watched, which is going down as one of my all-time favorites. The premise was she has bad skin and she learns to do makeup really well and hide her bad skin so she's not getting bullied anymore. Like it's this one like very human thing. You know, most teenagers go through some level of bad skin and whatever. But I kid you not, the way I hung off these episodes, and it's because it was so real. The characters became so real to me. And like you feel how heavy this burden is for them, you know?
Mm,
So
yes.
honestly, these days, I feel like if I ever do an interview and people are like, what's your best writing advice? My answer is literally watch K-drama. There is no greater teacher of writing than K-drama. You heard it here.
I agree. I agree. I concur. Yes, absolutely. I can't get enough. And I still will watch that one, True Beauty. It's gonna happen. It's happening.
It's
I need.
happening.
Yeah, I'm watching Run On right now. Run On,
No, I haven't seen that.
and yeah, it's okay. It's cute, but like it's they're all like, what did I always? Oh, Love to Hate You. That's the one.
I didn't
Yeah.
think I'd seen it.
It's new. It's new. It's on Netflix, and
Okay.
it's like an adult. You know, like they're adults.
Well, that's one thing. Maybe since you're writing adult now, you might not want angsty high school, my skin's bad. But then you
I
might.
don't know. I always want it. I always want like angsty YA. I just love it so much. So
Yeah. Well, it's like our guest Monica said, honestly, like that whole I feel like I said that last episode. Like I feel like people are always going through a coming of age. And to be honest, the people who stop doing that in life are not people I keep close to me, if that makes sense. You know,
mm.
some people do reach this point and they're like, well, I've become an adult and this is how I'm going to live every day for the rest of my life. And they do that. And it's kind of depressing.
Yes, it is. It is.
I give me the people who are constantly like trying to do better, who are constantly trying to be better. And like, yeah, like I just think any person should be going through coming of age their whole life. Things are going
Yes.
to come at you, and you're going to have to learn a new way of being, a new way of doing. And yeah.
No, when she said that, I was like, whew, that hits. Because I never feel like I'm an adult. Like, I always feel like I'm learning. And, maybe that's why I gravitated so much towards young adult, because I'm like trying to find the lessons in everything. But I always feel like this weird, I'm just never there. And I'm always searching for the magic and things. And I love what she had to say, that it's like we're all searching. And if you stop, then like you said, like that's where life gets dull. And so keep searching.
Yes. And here's to celebrating that, because it's interesting, like I've also had that feeling a lot of my life. And you feel like you're not, like you're never adulting, like always feeling like a kid. But like, what if we started to cherish that about ourselves? What if we started to be like, well, that's a part of me, and it's a part of my favorite people, and realize that, like, that's just, I don't think that's going to go away. Not in good people, if you ask me. I feel like even in, like, you'd meet some of these older people, and the ones who, like, you still love and you still connect with in their 80s and 90s, they are the ones who, like, you could be in the back of the class getting in trouble and getting detention together. There's this, like, childlike element that you don't kill. Like, they fed their inner child, you know?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, this conversation is all stemming from the beautiful person that we just interviewed.
Mm.
And she gave us this reminder of just what we're talking about. And it's just like finding the magic in our lives and in other creatives. And this is why we love doing what we're doing with this podcast, because it gives us this access into talking to other creatives, and and digging into their brains a little bit, and gives us a reminder to stay in this state of just exploration and fun and all that stuff. And sometimes you forget because life is hard, and you forget to like look for the fun and the joy, because it's so dark sometimes. But
Yeah.
you know gotta
And the
look for it.
trap is that, like, a lot of society around you, most of society around you, will tell you that those ways of thinking that feels natural in here, those ways of thinking, those ways of being are wrong. They'll tell you, no, you should be doing XYZ, even though it makes you miserable. And
Mm.
the trick is to find your own truth, because, and what's true for one person, you can't necessarily chase someone else's dream and find happiness. It has to be your own. You have to fight for your own. And, like, especially I find creatives, like, the whole rat race thing, there's a reason it, like, repels us, because
Yeah,
it's like the killer of creativity.
it is. Damn it, it is. But I need to do what you guys are talking about, which I don't want to spoil it, but like sitting down and like the quiet and getting away from the screen, because it's a problem, and I really need to. And I honestly, I think why one of the reasons I love K dramas too, it forces me to get away from my phone, because I need to read the subtitles. And so it's like this, like, you have to pay attention, because in this world, it really feels like it's so hard to pay attention to anything, because you're paying attention to everything.
Yeah.
So I like that. I need to go sit and lay on the grass.
It's really hard at first, like, it's the same with meditation. Like, I've told you that before. Like, I struggled for months. I was like, why do people even do this? Like, I would sit down and try to meditate, and all the thoughts would bombard me at once. I'm like, well, that's not what I wanted. But, like, it's literally, like, it's funny. Like, I don't know if this is true or not, but I think it probably is. I said to my therapist last week, I was like, I think I might have ADHD. And she was like, you probably do. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, actually, she's like 50% of the people or more who would walk through that door right now these days do, because of the way society's progressed with social media and TV and everything, that our brains do have this, like, yeah, like don't quote me, but like, yeah, it was just a casual conversation. I was like, well, that makes sense. Like we have this urgent desire to be like stimulated, and it doesn't feel natural at first, but because of like the fact that I live with anxiety disorder, I've been forced to slow down by my body. And
Mm.
so, but even then, it was a hard lesson to learn, and one I will have to learn every day, because you naturally chase the shiny thing. Yeah.
Yes.
You naturally chase the most stimulating, the most exciting thing. But when you do that, like there's like kind of the drop after, the emptiness if you're not constantly stimulated. And I didn't like that. And the more I force like I literally, my most triumphant thing the last few weeks is I will just sit by the water and I will put my phone on silent and I will not look at it. And I will just watch the ducks on the pond like I used to when I was a kid. I used to sit and watch my chooks for like hours as a kid and not get bored. Well, you're bored, but it's like healthy bored. I think your
Yeah.
brain craves that shut off. And as I teach it more to do that, it's craving it more and more. So it's like, but it's like, dude, it is taking a lot to train my brain to want that shut off, to not. Even I noticed like going to the beach the last few years before I started this more mindful way of living, I'd lay down on the sand and I'd be like, all right, well, let's go. Like I wouldn't be content to just lay there in the sun.
Yeah.
Like, when I was a kid, I'd lay out in the sun for hours, never mind the skin cancer. But anyway, I get ranty on these things. But yeah, I'm like, we're going to talk about it so much more with the amazing Monica, who you literally like manifested on the show, like crazy fact, whether or not I leave it in, I think I'll leave it. But I was literally like, as I've been Googling agents and stuff, like Monica was one of the agents. I was literally like reading about her, and I messaged Angela and I was like, have you heard about this agent? She sounds so cool. And you're like, dude, like I've booked her for the how did it happen? You told me you booked her for the show. And I was like, are you shitting me? I was just Googling her this morning and I could not believe, speaking of synchronicity and stuff, because that's very in her field. I could not believe it was just all meant to be.
It was, and I love it. Yes, I was so, when you said that, like, dude, I was literally looking her up. I was like, of course, absolutely. It makes total sense. Yes, I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, me
We're
too.
sisters, just sisters out here, just in the universe, waiting to find each other.
Yes. Well, let's read Monica's bio. You want to do it this week?
Yes, I do. All right. Monica's solution driven strategies support our clients' books before and after they've hit shelves. She loves maximizing the career potential of our authors. And what I'm reading from is the agency's website. So when they say "our," we're talking about Context Literary Agency, which you need to look up because it's amazing. She loves maximizing the career potential of our authors and brainstorming new ways to discover lifelong readers. In addition to her director of brand management role, Monica is a junior agent. She is on a mission to help uplift underrepresented voices in publishing, specifically within the Latinx community.
Yeah.
So
Well,
let's bring Monica on.
let's get her on. I seriously cannot wait to share this episode with everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you, Monica?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I just saw your assistant.
I was gonna say my assistant might join us, and he's brought an offering. It's a little Stitch doll, so he's here.
I love Stitch. My little assistant, I've just been playing the ball with her to hopefully shut her up, but that's her crying now in the background. So you're in good company.
Okay, good. All pets welcome.
Yes, yes. We are a pet-friendly podcast. Absolutely. Well, and I mean, I just want to say thank you for joining us, and we are so excited to have you. I'm a major fan of yours over on.
I'm a major fan of yours. We're TikTok fans.
Yes, you're fangirls, and but it's really fun. It's really cool to see like an agent, on social media, just living, and I'm here for it. So
And it's so nice to meet you, Melanie.
Yes, nice to meet you too. I've been Insta stalking you, and I've just discovered yesterday you have another account that's like mental health and self-love based,
It
which
is
very in my area of interest. So
oh,
you'll have to tell us a bit about that too.
Yeah, of course.
yeah, well, we'll get right into it because
Okay.
before we start recording or here, we'll do your bio and all of the good stuff. So we're gonna get right into it just because we're really excited to chat with you.
I'm so excited too.
And to dive in, just all about you and your life and who you are, everything. But yeah, let's go back to that. Actually, your other account. Can you tell our listeners what that is?
Yeah, so I started sort of documenting. Writing has always been really therapeutic for me, and how I sort of process things that happen to me, or synchronicity is something that's just always been really an interest of mine. And as I got older, it's sort of been my way to help others feel less alone in the universe with other people. I figured I would travel was a big part of my life before the pandemic, and places would always sort of teach me something, or I would always just go out into the world and say, what can I learn from this? Or what can I learn from this relationship? What can I learn from myself? And I would sort of document it. My mom calls them chapters, and she'll be like, when's the next chapter coming out? But they're blog posts. And I sort of would use my life lessons as a way to share with others, like, this happened to me. And this is what the point of this, I think, is XYZ, and how you can sort of like apply that. I think I've always been sort of a perfectionist, and I am trying to embrace, or I've been trying to for the past 6 years. Life's a journey, right? To sort of embrace the in between. And no one really talks about the figuring out part of life. We're always just accustomed to learning, how someone made it. And I like the messiness and some days I'm not confident, and some days I do really love myself, and other days I'm questioning everything I've done in my life. And so that sort of balance between what makes us human is something that I write about on the blog. So it's basically mental health, self-love, books, and travel is what I write about. And I've kind of tried to take that more into a social media approach and figure out how to connect with people in a more, where our brains are like goldfish now. And so translating my writing into a video on TikTok or on Instagram, where it's sort of conscious stream of thought, but also there's a point to it, so that maybe it will inspire someone that walks through the door, and I plant the seed. And it's called Find a Lovely Life. So that's sort of it kind of helped me get back into writing after not being a writer for a really long time. Or, I mean, you're always a writer, right? But then you're your own worst assignment of title. And so that kind of helped me get to the point where I started writing again for fun. And I think I needed to sort of like get all of that out. There's a book that I recommend to all writers all the time, or any artist really, called The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. And it's a beautiful sort of workbook that helps you kind of get back in touch with the reason why you love to create, whether that's cooking, gardening, painting, writing. And there's a concept in there that she teaches called morning pages. And it's just conscious stream of thought. And at the beginning, when I first started, I was like, peas and carrots. I don't know my own thoughts. And it was just really like, I don't even know what's in my head, sort of thing. And I've done it for so long now that it's now a tool that I use to sort of check in with my anxiety, journal and process sort of things. Like if I can't, like, why am I not writing right now? Like which one of you is it? Like which one of you is blocking me, sort of thing. I'm a very visual person when it comes to attacking my own traumas, but in that sense, it just sort of, that book sort of also helped my writing journey as well. And I always want to, it's like a part of my TED Talk. I'm not sponsored or anything, but you know, like if it helps break open the fear of what's blocking your creativity, it's a great recommendation that I always like to share.
What was it called again?
It's called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and it's sort of like a workbook. So you don't have to do it all. You know, you can take it in bites. And I'm a big Melanie, you probably saw this. This is the last Instagram video I did. I'm a very like, the books find me when they're meant to find me.
Yes. I believe that.
If you can't find it in the bookstore, it's not the right time.
Mm.
And maybe someone will give it to you. And then you're like, ah, crap, now I gotta, well, maybe I'll just put it on the TBR pile and like figure that out later, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, you're in good company. It all resonates very much with me. And yeah, that's what you mean when you talk about synchronicity, isn't it? Like finding something that it just comes at the right time in your life when you were ready to hear it. And it's funny that you brought up journaling, because I've never used journaling, like, which is a surprise to me being a writer, but I kind of was like, it can't be that helpful. But then this time round, starting with a new therapist, she was like, you should try journaling. And yeah, that conscious stream of thought, checking in with that, instead of ruminating on things all day, it's like you write it down in the morning. And then it's also like a checkpoint where you're like, I'll write it in my journal, you know, so you're not just stuck with it. So I'm a recent convert to jourling.
Shout out to therapy.
Shout out to therapy. Oh my days. Yes. Yes. You're our people already. I see that.
I was just thinking this because Melanie and I always talk about, like, once we get off like recording, we're always like, oh, they were the best. And like we're always like, the right ones always seem to come. And obviously I was thinking in my head, like, here it is, right here. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
The universe works in mysterious ways.
It really does.
We just have to listen to her.
Yes. And letting things happen and not, I mean, I guess this ties to publishing in general, or just life in general too, of like, there's a certain point where you have to let go. And then you think you let go, but then I've also like had times in my life where like subconsciously there's a version of me that's still holding on, and I'm like, what the heck? I thought we let this go. And then it's like, oh crap, you found me. I'm the one that has like the kite that's like still pulling the string, sort of thing. But yeah, journaling helps me, and it's just sort of evolved into not only being in the mornings. Sometimes when my anxiety was really high, because I had that tool, I would go to it. And as a writer, I feel like pen and paper is just a natural instinct to create. And so using that also to sort of deconstruct or heal yourself is really cathartic, and can also like enter, either be private in your own thoughts, or like my characters with my manuscript that I'm working on with my agent have healed me more than I thought. And I feel like I bamboozled myself, because you're writing parts of yourself, right? Subconsciously within these people or other people that you sort of put together. And then you're like, oh, wow, that was still there. That hurt.
All the freaking time. I swear, every like book or new thing I start working on, I always find like, oh, okay, there's these issues I didn't realize that I needed to resolve. Let me just put it into the book. Or the book just tells me, no, bitch, like, this is in the book because you're telling yourself you need to work on this. And every time I'm like, oh, okay. And then I go to Melanie because she is my therapist, and so
Oh.
she.
Love the supportive. I get Lightning McQueen vibes from y'all, you know?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I'm gonna TikTok reference all day, so you know, I can put like footnotes if needed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to come to TikTok. It's like it's been a steady flow. I'm like, at some point it's just gonna have to happen. I've been resisting.
Well, don't be intimidated by it, because I feel like
I am.
part of my job. Well, I think I was too at first, but I felt like I found it so creatively liberating, because it's such an place that draws from authenticity versus aesthetic, like what we're used to on Instagram, which I think subconsciously has sort of like framed the way we write, even like it feeds on the perfectionism, versus TikTok is like, I like to describe as a create and release sort of place, and it's just in the void. And I don't care if 11 people watch it, or I'm the one that keeps watching you know, to make myself laugh or to bring myself joy, or if I log into my other blog account and then I log back into my personal account, I'm like, 5 notifications. Oh, that was me liking that. Go me.
Literally me when we started this podcast. I was like, we've got 5 views, and it's me from my husband's phone, and Angela from the laptop.
Totally, every time. No, I love it. It's one of those things. I find myself very funny, and so TikTok is the perfect place, because I can do the most ridiculous things and just laugh at myself. And so you know, it's very liberating.
Super liberating.
Hey, that's the first TikTok pitch I've heard that really made me want to come over. I like the authentic vibe and the just be yourself.
Yes.
Got it. She's got it. Well, that's why I wanted to bring it back to agenting, because you're an agent, but you're also is brand management, right? Is that what you are also working with? So obviously you got it, because we're here, we're watching, we are listening to what you have to say. But how did you get into going from writer to agent?
Yeah, so my path to becoming a literary agent, I actually started in the query trenches. So I was querying my own novel, and it sort of reminded me, I have a public relations background. So part of what public relations does is sort of pitch stories to journalists to get coverage for any brand or thing. Literally, if you picked up a pencil, I could tell you, yep, there's a PR person for that. So I was working in advertising. I worked in the travel industry for 6 years before the pandemic, and was sort of gravitating back to like my writing and reading roots, and publishing had always been a dream of mine, but it always seemed so unattainable. And I was curious about agenting, because I also didn't see enough Latinx agents out there. And I thought, if I was eventually going to have a seat at the table, I wanted to make sure I kept the door open and just kept pulling up chairs, and had like, I don't know, just a place where I didn't want to be the only one. And so I actually saw an internship opportunity on Twitter. This is just going to be like a social media is the greatest thing ever. And I opened the door and just kind of walked through. I applied. And that's where I met the president of our agency at Context Literary, Tamara Dinsky, who was looking for an in-house marketing person to sort of help context authors. And so with publicity, because I think a little bit of transparency for publishing is not all books get a large marketing plan to launch books. And sometimes a lot of, mainly what I've seen is the arm of social media falls on the author And so in that role, I sort of help support the marketing plans that come in. I either find like a third party publicist to sort of help support the author, or I come up with social media ideas with the book for launch, or I support giveaway. Like I just help support the plans, and they're all sort of like at different levels. And then I also do monthly seminars for authors that are exclusive to them to sort of like teach them about marketing and sort of use all my 10 plus years of experience to help them promote themselves, to work on their brand, to work on their whatever that is, whether it's a brand or launching their book sort of thing. And then I felt ready to start agenting. So this was October 2021 is when I started at Context Literary. And then February 2022, I started agenting. And so I've been, I guess, officially now a junior agent for a year, which is really exciting. I bought myself cupcakes last month and I ate them all.
And I ate them all.
I love that.
I gave my assistant, my dog, some, not the chocolate ones, obviously, but and so yeah, I have it's just been such a great experience. It just goes to show like there's not one path to break into the industry. And I think someone coming from outside, I worked in nonprofit arts, travel and tourism. This was like a brand new industry for me. So my testimony is always, don't discredit your past career bloodline of what skills you learn to open the door to the next chapter in your life. Because all I wanted to ever do was work in the tourism industry. I love travel at that point in my life, and that was my dream. And it's okay to have 2 dreams. It's okay to have 3 dreams. It's okay to have 4, like as many dreams as you want, and you can start over. One of my biggest things I always say is we're always coming of age. Like I don't believe that's just a category for YA. I think, and there's no such thing as a midlife crisis. You're just in a new chapter of your life and things feel different. And so starting a new dream or a new career in publishing, I didn't feel like I started from scratch because I had built so much up until this point. And so now I'm just using those skills to help authors achieve their dreams, which is like really cool. Like I think that's my favorite part of agenting. One of my clients calls me a fairy godmother, which I actually have a photo. My mom used to make my costumes when I was younger, and I was a fairy godmother. So it was written in the stars to be, I prefer fairy godmother to princess. I don't know. It's just a little bit more fun to like try my best to make people's dreams come true.
Just bippity boppity boops.
Bippity boppity booping over here.
Oh my goodness.
I feel that for you. I feel it for you though. Like you have this wise energy, and I could see where you would have so much passion for your clients. And so fairy godmother, yes, fairy godmother.
My client's gonna approve, like double approve, like stamp of approval on that.
I love it. What sort of genres do you represent?
So in all categories, I just tend to gravitate naturally towards stories of identity or family relationships, specifically sibling relationships is something that's really interesting to me. And then of course, travel with my background. And then with my marketing background, my taste sort of tends to lean commercial, but I don't like to rule anything out because there's a category I never thought I would. It wasn't like I dove into it. I stumbled into graphic novels without realizing how much I really loved working on them. And so that's something that I really love to represent. I'm selective in picture books, only because I'm looking for character-driven picture books. I want kids to see themselves. I love animals, and I love different types of concepts, but it's really important to me specifically in picture books for a kid to be able to see themselves for the first time at that young age, and like encourage them to figure things out of their own, or like anything that is like a love of books is check mark gold for me. I was the kid in the library, as we probably all were. And then in middle grade, I really love adventure or mystery elements. YA, I tend to skew more contemporary, specifically in that category. Or and then in adult, I really love book club fiction that questions the American dream and explores adult sibling relationships, because I don't think we ever get a manual on how to navigate what happens when we're not kids anymore and we're two different people, and everyone has a different experience, and I don't think there are enough books that I can name on like one hand, so there needs to be more. And then the last category, nonfiction. I love journalistic nonfiction, so anything that just sort of explores a topic, or again, travel memoirs or essay collections. So that's sort of, I rep pretty much everything because I read pretty widely. And so I don't like to close anything out, but that's sort of like the highlights.
Yeah. Is there anything that when you see it come into your inbox is like an immediate, like what's your kind of pet peeve? Rejection, instant rejection.
Instant rejection. I'm not the best agent for sexual abuse or violence. It's just hard for me to get into that mind space. So I wouldn't say it's an automatic rejection. It just takes me a little bit longer to consider if that's something that I want to represent. Of course, if it's like a survivor story or like there's elements to it that are more towards the positive aspect of something like that. But if it's just violence and there's no joy, I can't really, I'm just not the best person for that. I advocate for joy versus anything else.
Yeah, fair. So fair.
That's one example.
That's fair for sure. Yeah, definitely fair. What would you say is like the hardest part about being an agent?
I'd have to say, so as a writer, before I got my own agent, I was rejected over 100 times. So I'm pretty numb to it as a writer. Having to take rejection for someone else is a whole other hole in my heart that is really hard to like put a band-aid on. Because I'm like a mama bear and I just want to protect my clients, but I think it hurts a little more when you think it's the perfect match for the author and the imprint and the editor, and you think the stars are all aligned, and then it doesn't work out, and then you have to like Edna mode, pull myself together, Elastigirl, like before I like, deliver the news to them. So I think the hardest part is just hitting that wave of rejection first, and then trying to soften. And I'm pretty positive, and like we're one step closer to the yes. More no's, so we can get to the yes. So I think that's the hardest part, because not everyone is like me, and having to understand that rejection is just hard for everyone. And so that's a really big part of this industry, unfortunately. So, and I can't fix it, and I'm a big fixer and I want to fix it. So that's the hardest part.
The solution for them. And yeah.
Yeah.
That's we always say this, but we love having agents on just as a reminder that you guys are human, but you're also the buffer between writers and heartache. And so I think that it hurts you guys as well. Is kind of like, it's just this human thing of we're all striving towards these themes, and you guys are right there to hold our hands the entire time, and to cry ahead of time, so then when we get the no, you're ready.
Oh yeah, I think I cried the other day because I got a rejection and I was really hopeful for it. And then I was like, okay, I got this. I gotta like be strong and uh update the spreadsheet because I keep a spreadsheet with updates and keep moving forward.
That's it right there. Keep moving forward.
Hmm.
I love to hear it. And yeah, it is just this human side of the whole industry, because definitely like my perception initially starting out in this of agents versus now, like, you know, we're all part of this wild publishing maze. Like it's hard on all of
Hmm.
us. It's hard on agents. And I agree with Angela. Like that's why we love having you all on, because it
Hmm.
really humanizes that side of it. And I think it's so important, especially like, you know, in the wake of COVID and everything, like how much stuff has
Hmm.
changed, the reading times and everything. And yeah, I hope it gives people encouragement hearing that stuff. And also knowing what you're, something that I think about a lot lately is like knowing what you're fighting for when you're looking for an agent,
Hmm.
like how cool it is, how big it is. Because when you think about it, going in with an early mindset, you kind of almost assume that's just this next step, that it's like just a step in your journey, but it's so much, it's
Hmm.
like finding a friend, like finding a partner.
Hmm.
There's so many elements
Hmm.
that need to mesh together. And I think it really always
Hmm.
helps me put it into perspectives, rejections and all that, because there's so much more than just the work. It's like you're inviting
Hmm.
another person into your life.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I definitely, if I was to like define what agenting is, to me, it's sort of a creative business partnership because I think one of my TED Talks that I'll do one day from like the blog is that there's no such thing as a finish line. Because
Mm.
every time you like get to the end of something, I feel that, especially in agenting or just as a writer in general, like as soon as you get your agent, you open the door and you think, this is it. And it's a great, great accomplishment. And there's so many more hills and doors up ahead. And it can be really discouraging um, to not be prepared for that. How much rewriting happens after you sign with an agent, because it's not just rewriting and making the manuscript work in that creative business partnership together with the agent to set it up for success, to like open the next door to be able to sell the project. It's finding that right editor, and then that editor then having more ideas to make the manuscript better. So you're just constantly going to be revising, revising, revising. And you might think that all you can do is like get it to the best place you can possibly get it to query. And then that's part of that like lesson and letting go. It's like you get it back and then you let it go, and then you make it better and then you let it go, and then imposter syndrome knocks you down and you don't write for a day and then or a week or a month, and then you come back to it. So just sort of this like ebb and flow process of, when they say writing is rewriting, they truly, that is the definition of what the journey of publishing is. And then even when I'm sure like when you get to the point where you know, your book, Angela, I'm sure you can be a testimony to this. You feel like it's still not fit. Like there's always like a part where you're like, I could have made it better, but it's coming out, so I can't do anything about it, you know?
Yes. Yes, I'm going through that right now. So yes.
I tend to read people accidentally really well, and then they run for the hills, and then I'm like, cool.
She got me. She got
Sorry. Very not sorry. I see you, and you're safe.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. No, honestly, everything you were saying, I literally was just sitting here like, I don't think I stopped smiling the entire time because it was so good and so profound, and I just wasn't ready for it. And like, I just need to like stamp the, you know, there are no finish lines, because it's so, so true. You really do, like, you're racing to get the
Mhm.
agent. And then as soon as you do, we are working. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing after another. And yes, you hit me. You got me.
I was watching your face, Montoya, and I was losing it on the inside. Your face was gold. But it's also like, it's part of why we do this podcast, even though we're both like anxious introverts and stuff, because it's at the end of the day, you're so right. And the community is kind of what keeps me grounded through the whole process of like, no matter, because you're so right, big or little milestones or whatever you're shooting for, like, they're little moments, and in between all of that is so much waiting. And if you're only reveling in the big moments, you're like missing most of your life.
Yes.
You know?
Oh my God.
So like we're very we're very much that mindset.
Yes.
And we talk about the book Big Magic, which sounds a lot like the one you recommend, about like just the joy of writing, but like the joy of life is what we come back to. Not like the living that happens outside of, like, you shut the cover and that's one book and it's done, you know, like, but you're a whole other person living this life. So I've found that like my community is what kind of keeps me grounded through that all on the days when imposter syndrome is loud, you know, because you know, I've gotten pretty good at picking myself up as well. And I think you do, if you stay in this industry, you've got to get good at it yourself too. But having
100%
voices you trust be like, you know, even if it's just like we tend to shit talk each other when we're going to write a new work in progress, and we'll like battle each other like with sassy comments until we write the damn thing.
That's how we do it. And it works. And how do you deal with burnout? I mean, you know, we're writing, we're agenting, we're doing all the things. How are you dealing with burnout?
I have my dog. That's honestly like the best. It's as simple as I have to take a walk. I have to go outside. I have to leave the screens. I have to just it took me a long time to take a walk without listening to an audiobook or listening to music, and just sitting in silence is something I've been working on for 6 years, and I'm not a master at it, but I'm definitely better at it. Because that's sort of where the creativity, you allow things to process, you allow things to sort of come in, and I think that's where creativity happens, in the silence, when you're not actually writing or you're not actually checking email, or you think of solutions that way. So walking, it's very simple, but that's sort of how I avoid burnout, and taking it day by day. Yeah, and I feel like I've created a life for myself where I have a flexible schedule and I can choose when I work. And I know not everyone has that luxury or privilege. And so I always say something as simple as a walk, or just time without consuming anything, to allow yourself to breathe.
Just speaking to my soul right now. This is literally my life. And yeah, I couldn't live without my walking either. Like, and I so agree with you about the need for silence, the need for boredom. Like, that's something I've been very focused on as well. Just like, I will force myself to leave the screens. I also call them the screens. I leave them in the house and I'll go just lay out on the grass and just watch the clouds like I did when I was a kid. And my brain craves it. And like at first, it's so hard to switch off like the side of you that wants to constantly consume. But now that I like you start to crave it once you show your brain it can like that again. And I'll get very frustrated now if I don't have anti-screen time within like blocks. It's so like our brain's just hungry for the silence.
Rest.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good, guys. This is really good. Now, I have to ask before our time is up, because it's dwindling down. Do you have a favorite quote you'd like to share with us? Because I feel like we need to hear whatever you have to say right now.
The wisdom. My favorite quote, it's always been, don't ask yourself what the world needs. ask yourself what makes you come alive and go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And Howard Thurman said that. So I always interpreted that as, whether you're writing, working on your brand on social media, working that part-time job, to support your dream. I think as humans, we're just always looking for connection and we always want to be seen. And I truly believe the only way to make the world a better place is for you to just do what brings you joy, because it's contagious. Happy tears. Happy tears.
Yes.
It was so good. I knew it was coming. I knew a good one was coming, but I wasn't ready. It's so good.
We'll have to post that one on our page later because it's very much the mindset we try to keep, and
I love it.
I agree. Like joy is it's the only way we can like eat away at like the pain and the hate and like let's bring all the joy, and you have brought the joy today. It's been truly an honor
so
to
good.
chat with you and all the things. I had a feeling when Angela just has gut instincts for people with good energy, and yeah, we really appreciate you coming on today.
No, I appreciate you reaching out. My word this year is community, and this is the synchronicity of that. So there you go.
Universe has spoken, and
has spoken.
Yeah. Honestly, thank you so much for coming on and blessing us with your godmother, god fairy.
Bippity boppity boo joy.
Yes, you have booped us in the best way.
I'm so happy to be booped right now. Why am I so happy? My inner pet is like, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well, we're gonna get cut off, but thank you. We adore you. You are amazing.
I adore both of you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.